Welcome to The Victory Show.
Hey, Victors. Welcome to this episode of The Victory Show. If this is your first time joining us, I'm Travis Cody, best-selling author of 19 books and the creator of Bestseller by Design. I've had the privilege of helping hundreds of business owners, founders, and entrepreneurs write and publish their own best-selling book. Through that journey, I've discovered a fascinating pattern. Most businesses really struggle to break past 7 figures per year in revenue. So on this show, I sit down with some of the world's most successful founders, CEOs, leaders, and business owners to uncover the strategies they use to scale way past that mark, so you can do the same. Get ready for some deep insights and actionable takeaways that you can implement in your business and life starting now. Today's guest is a Silicon Valley-based tech founder and executive coach with deep roots in leadership, development, organizational psychology, and AI. With a background that spans coaching, fractional MD leadership, and high-impact advisory roles, Albino Sanchez helps CEOs, founders, and HR leaders evolve from outdated command and control models into empowered, high-accountability organizations. His mantra is simple. People don't leave companies. They leave bad leaders. He's also the founder of a new platform that helps companies build culture fit intelligence into their hiring process so they can attract people who don't just survive, but actually thrive. By using AI to drive smarter hiring, learning, and development, he's helping to bring the future of people ops into today's business landscape. Albino, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I love your phrase, the people ops. Everyone's talking about operations, but nobody's really talking to it. So, and it's true. I was kind of chuckling when I was reading that. People don't leave businesses; they leave leaders. And I'm just thinking of the few times that I've left companies, and it was always generally because of some bad manager in the middle who's making life miserable for everybody.
That's correct. And the other way around, when you have a great leader, a great boss, your life it's much easier, it's much happier. You feel heard, you feel supported. So that's one of the key insights and elements of what I do. So we develop leaders. Yeah.
So where did that come from? Like, how did you? I mean, how did this become a superpower of yours? When did you realize that this is something that you were really good at? Because very few founders that I've met so far, and I shouldn't say founders, maybe business owners of smaller companies doing under $1 million a year, right? Team building and hiring is like such a big pain point for most of them, and most people go through some really painful experiences along the way.
Sure. Well, I've lived this. I experienced this throughout my career. At the beginning, I was an employee, and I worked for several companies, and I learned what it was like to be an employee and to have good and bad bosses, and how that impacted myself and others. And so that was at the beginning. And then I became a consultant, a business consultant, and I was helping organizations with their strategy. So I was implementing several frameworks like Balanced Scorecard, OKRs, and others to help organizations structure and measure their future, their strategy, so they can implement it. And so I did it with large organizations throughout several years. And after those years, I was looking back when I was now working for another company. I was director of strategy. But then I looked back. What happened to those organizations that implemented those frameworks with consultants? And I noticed that some of those organizations were really successful. They got a big ROI from that implementation, and others, this just disappeared. No? Many times when you hire consultants and they leave the company after a few months or years, everything disappears, right? Everything comes back to status quo, and that happened to a lot of companies I work for. So I was wondering what was the difference. And what I noticed is that those few companies that really thrived and really embraced those frameworks were the ones that had great leadership. The CEOs, the heads of the main departments, they were really people-centered. They really work with their people. They develop their people. They listen to them, and they empowered their people. So that was a big difference. So by learning that, I realized that if I want to help organizations change and really thrive, it's not only about frameworks, it's about people. Then I realized that also there's another ingredient in this formula. So it's frameworks, it's people, but something that's going to be like the glue or the thing that's going to really integrate everything is culture. So I realized that, as Peter Drucker said, culture it's strategy for breakfast, and I could see that. I could see that in organizations that didn't have the fertile soil or the right environment for people to grow and for strategy to execute, all the efforts were really wasted. But in organizations that really took care of their people and really built an environment where everyone could thrive and execute, and they could execute strategy, that was a completely different story. And you could sense it when you walked in the room, and you could sense the environment. So the culture is also key. So that's why I decided, after several years of working experience, I decided to focus all my efforts, and that's why I started my own company, to help organizations with frameworks, people, and leadership. But if we put all that together, we need to help organizations with their culture. So it's not just about the culture they have today, but the culture they want to get somewhere in the future. Well, I can talk a little bit more about that in a moment.
Yeah, so I'd love to talk a little bit about that, because a lot of the companies that I'm working with are they're trying to get to the 7-figure mark, and usually it's them and maybe a team of a couple of people, and so once you get past the 7-figure mark, then you 5 people, 10 people, and culture, nobody really thinks about it because it's really like, let's just grow as fast as possible, right? So when you have these companies that have sort of get to a point where they're like, okay, now we're ready to scale, and they got some full-time employees, but they haven't thought about culture. Where do they start? Like how would you then, like, at that point, kind of step back and go, ooh, I want to make sure that we're building this now as we're scaling, instead of getting to 50 employees and then going, oh, what is our culture?
Oh yeah, well, culture is not just about defining your mission, vision, and core values. So that's not enough. Culture is a complex concept. It's a complex concept because it involves much more. It involves the way you communicate, the way you interact with your employees, how leaders are really setting the example of how to behave. It has to do with even the layout of the furniture at the office. So it's so many things. It's all the environment that you're creating for your company. All of that is culture. How you pay your people, how you incentivize, how you communicate. So it's a sum of many small things. All of that is culture, and so that's one of the problems, that we don't have like a unique way to define culture.
Right. And it's this sort of like nebulous thing that all the consultants are saying you need, but at the end of the day, it's like, what is that?
That's correct. And if you ask all your employees, hey, can you describe our culture? You're going to get so many different answers. So we need to start from there to have a unique understanding of our culture. What is it like to work here? What are our most important behaviors or values, but not just to put them on the wall. It's the real thing.
Yeah.
Let's get into that.
Well, I mean, as an employee, I remember working for a corporation that didn't really have anything, and then they did their sort of annual leadership meeting, and then they came back, and it was like the big old boy had the rah meeting of like, look at our values and look at our mission, and it's hanging on the wall, and everybody come sign the thing, and then like 3 days later, nobody was like, whatever, what is this? This is stupid, right? They did it isolated, alone, with just the leadership team, with no feedback from people with boots on the ground, and it didn't change anything. And in fact, I think if anything, it annoyed people more than it helped. So, and you're right. It's like it's interesting that a lot of people with business background will think culture is mission and values, but as an employee, it's more like, do I enjoy showing up for work? Do I like the people that I'm working with? Are they taking care of me? Right. So, how do you, when you're consulting, how do you work with companies to work on those things?
Sure. Well, first of all, we need to really discover what's the real culture. So in the example you just gave, that company, after a couple of days of an offsite workshop, they defined the desired culture, and then by magic, they expected that culture to be a reality. So that's why it didn't work. So it's okay to define the desired culture, but now let's discover what's the real culture. What are we really experiencing on a daily basis here? And to discover that, we need to talk to our employees. And it's not just a matter of filling a form. No, that's not it. We need to really talk to them and listen to them. And the way we consultants do this is we interview all your employees or most of them, and we can do it in person or we can use technology as well. So we developed an AI tool that can help interview all your employees for 5 minutes a day. Just ask simple questions, and we gather all that information, and then we present, this is your real culture. So that's just an example of it. Now,
so do you interview the same person 5 minutes a day for a series of days, or it just takes them 5 minutes?
Yeah, 5 minutes a day for maybe a couple of weeks, so that we can, get fresh answers and not so formal answers, so they don't feel like it's a formal interview and they need to get guarded. No, it's just casual, and just tell me a little bit about you, your experience working here. What do you like about this workplace? What do you don't like, etc. So yeah, that's just an example of something that can be done, but we need to discover it by interacting with all the employees. Okay, so discover the real culture.
So when you're asking the questions, like, what are some of the things that you're asking the employees on a daily basis?
Yeah, so we can ask, what do you like about working here? Why do you wake up every day to go to work? Why? What's the reason? What moves you to be here? Or why are you staying here? Why are you not somewhere else? What makes you stay here? Also, it's important to know what you don't like about working here. Give me examples of great moments throughout the day that you can share with us, or bad moments, right? And with all that, you start gathering very interesting information. Okay, so yeah, it's about starting the conversation and keep the conversation going, and you start getting a little deeper, and people start opening up, and you start getting very interesting data that you can work with.
Yeah, you're the first person I've come across that's done it over multiple days, which I find interesting, right? Because if you're asking me on a Monday versus the end of a day on a Friday, you're going to be getting completely different answers.
We want this to be like an ongoing process, something that's not just a report and it's something stiff and fixed. This is more a conversation, and that's part of our philosophy in our company. Is we think that an organization is a net of conversations, and through conversations is where we progress as a company. So the level or the quality of our conversations is going to impact our results. So that's why it's important to develop leadership, to develop culture, so that we have open conversations, vulnerable conversations, that we can raise our hands when we are not happy or when we need something. But that's what we want to get our organizations, and not I've seen many organizations where the culture is more about command and control, where we see leaders that are really autocratic, where they they like just giving orders, and people just need to follow those orders. And if they don't like it, they can go. So that's the other extreme, right? But I see a lot of leaders managing that way nowadays. So and you know what? It's easier. It's easier for them because no one questions them. They they know there's so many people without a job that the moment they have an opening, they're going to have a line of people. But that's the way they think. And I think that's not sustainable over time. So you may have short-term results with that, but over time you will have a big turnover, and it's going to be really costly. So yeah. Nowadays we need leaders that are much more people-centered, that are more vulnerable, that are more servant leaders, that they really empower their people, they really delegate, they empower them with financial resources, with decision making, and they trust their people. So we need cultures of trust. So that's why I was telling you, people leave organizations because of the boss, a bad leader. So part of this concept of building a culture that really attracts talent and retains talent is having leaders that really empower people and trust them and develop them. Okay, that's the idea.
So I worked with somebody a while back who's writing a book. She primarily is working with Fortune 500 companies, and the stat that she shared, which I thought was shocking, was that in the Fortune 1000 companies, the C-suite level positions, the average lifespan when somebody gets hired for that is 16 months. And when she was working on the book and was interviewing the leaders asking about it, the number one reason was they weren't given the development and the resources they needed to fulfill the job. It was like they hired them and then expected them to do all this stuff. So where I'm going with that is, to me, that feels like it's just shocking to me that multi-billion-dollar companies don't have a way to develop especially their C-suite guys. But so, what do you recommend to business owners and C-suite executives, like in terms of identifying and then developing the leaders inside of the company?
Well, yes, I've seen that. For example, a long time ago, I started working for a large company in Mexico, and I realized that even they were a really, really large organization, but their practices for strategy, which was my specialty at the time, they were not really following best practices, and things were done really, they were improvising, and they were doing things, in a way that you couldn't expect a large company to do that. So this, now going back to your example, yes, I've seen that a lot, that what happens is that leaders tend to be so busy that they think that people stuff that's for HR. No, that's not my job. And they delegate people management to HR.
Wow.
So I've seen that a lot, and they think that, hey, I don't have time to for one-on-ones. I don't have time to give feedback. I'm so busy. I'm so important, and that's gonna backfire them at some point, right? Because their people they don't feel heard. They don't feel taken into consideration in the decisions, etc. And they are not creating a collaborative environment. They're just creating a big distance with their people and with their teams, and that's going to backfire at some point. So yeah, a leader considers developing people and being close to the people as one of their main priorities. That's one of the part of the definitions of a good leader.
That probably scares old school leaders. They're not used to that. They're told the opposite, right? Keep everything close to the chest, keep everybody at arm's distance.
Yeah. That's safer. That's easier because you don't get no one questions you, right? Because they are afraid of you because you're threatening with firing them if they question you. That's the easy way of leading. Okay, that's easy, but uh, but being a servant leader, that's challenging because they can question you. And you, but you know what? A servant leader is not afraid of that because they trust their people and they want to see their people succeed and grow. That's what drives them. No, the other leader, what drives them is I want to, grow the company and want to, but I see people as tools, as, and the good leader sees people as intelligent, creative, with people with great potential that they can you can delegate and you can trust them, and you know what, you can focus on where you add value, right? You can focus on that, your time, and one of the things that you should focus on is on developing your people. So because that's one of the main definitions of management, which is doing through others, right? So we learned that in school, but it seems like many leaders forgot that.
So let's talk a little bit about why you're doing what you're doing now. So you have a company called Aha Impact. Am I getting that right?
Yes, correct.
So walk me through, when did the idea for that start? And then let's talk about what it is that you're doing now that's sort of so revolutionary in this process, especially with the fact that you guys are using AI to solve a lot of these problems.
Sure. Well, when I decided to start my own company after more than 20 years of experience working for several companies as a consultant and also as an executive, I realized that I had a lot to offer to many organizations, and that's why I decided to start my company. And this company, Aha Impact, the reason why I named it that way is because, as I told you before, an organization is a net of conversations. So through conversations, you get into agreements, you get into you build ideas, you build projects, etc. So once you are in this interaction with your people and you have the right environment, the right people, you can start generating moments of revelation, moments of illumination. That's the aha moments, right? So what I want and what I'm doing right now is I'm through coaching, executive coaching services and consulting and training services, I'm helping clients realize things they are not being aware of before working with me. I'm helping them create the right culture, empower their people, have the right conversations, so create those aha moments. And from there, I'm helping them create an impact and a breakthrough. So that's why my company's named Aha Impact. Okay,
I do like it, right? Like, did that come because you were working with people and you just kept working, and eventually the owner would be like, "Oh, aha, I get it."
Yeah, that's correct. So I help them see what they're not seeing, what they're not aware of, to see their blind spots. But what's interesting about this is that I just help them how to communicate, how to interact better with their employees, how to listen, and so I develop those skills in those leaders, so they can start, realizing and seeing things they were not seeing before, and those aha moments start to coming. Yeah.
So how are you bringing AI into play with all of this, and like, how is Aha helping, the thing you said, right? Helping people thrive versus just survive. Like, how are you marrying like your philosophy with AI tools in this whole process to kind of like improve those outcomes?
Sure. Approximately 3 years ago, one of my corporate clients in San Francisco, he's a founder and CEO of a unicorn company, and he was telling me, "Hey, I'm happy with everything we've done. I've been coaching like around 50 people in his company," and he was telling me, "Hey, can you help me? I'm having a big turnover right now. We are in hyper growth mode, and people are, sometimes are very stressed out, and they don't really, they don't feel so comfortable with our speed. So I want my HR department to really identify those people out there that really have what we need. I mean, the level of flexibility, adaptability, and high intense work philosophy. So we're talking about the culture. No, this is a high growth company that has a culture of
stress and high turnover.
Yeah, but turnover is not the culture. The culture is they are like intrapreneurs. So each one of them needs to be creative, needs to be really innovative, and really take on a lot of responsibility. And so that kind of special skills, you need to find them in the market. But it's a lot about commitment. It's a lot about the way they behave and their beliefs. So he told me, hey, it would be great if you could help me identify this culture fit in my job candidates. So I started researching. I started working on a solution for him, and then the AI revolution came in, and I realized that AI could be one of the tools that can help with this need of these organizations. And so during the last 6 months, I've been developing this tool. This is a tool that can help HR departments to really identify if their job candidates have a good culture fit or not. So organizations usually are really good at filtering or screening for experience, skills, technical skills. But when the hiring manager is, interviewing the last candidates, the ones that are the best ones, then they end up selecting one by gut feeling, right? Gut feeling, I like this one better. We got along pretty well in those conversations.
This guy had a nicer suit.
Yeah. So they end up hiring someone that they like, but not necessarily the best culture fit. And since I realized, I've been interviewing many HR leaders, around maybe 60 of them in the last 3 months, and they've been sharing with me that yes, that's one of the weakest links. The hiring manager, they end up relying on their gut feeling. So this tool is going to help them really prepare for that interview, so they can interact. You can upload all the information about the company and about the candidate, and we use several frameworks to define their culture. As I mentioned before, we now with this we can describe your culture, and then we can also score your job candidates according to the culture fit. And also the hiring managers can prepare for that culture fit interview by interacting with this tool. So this tool is an expert now in your culture and in your candidate, and now you can interact with the tool, and the tool can tell you, hey, ask this and that, watch out for this and that. So that's I've been presenting this to many HR leaders, and they're really liking it. And so we're going to start in a couple of weeks. We're going to start the beta phase.
Wow! So you're just getting off the ground with this. Yeah. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
So from where you're sitting, then what's the opportunity over this next 3 to 5 years in this space, specifically using AI trying to determine culture fit?
Yeah. Well, a bad hire is really costly. It costs an organization between 50 to 60% the annual salary of a person. So that's when HR leaders and especially CEOs, when they do the numbers, they realize that, wow, this is so costly. This easily can get into the millions of dollars. So the opportunity is to really save a lot of money with this. That's one thing. Another thing is to really, they bring in people that are easier to manage, to to develop, because they get the culture, they get the way the way they interact, the way they make decisions, etc. It's easier because they blend in. So you start getting. I was talking before about the culture that you have today and the desired culture. When you bring people that are aligned to the culture, it's easier to walk and build a team that's going to walk toward the desired culture and build that desired culture. So it has a lot of benefits. Also, if you don't have the right people with the right culture, they may affect not only your culture, but they may affect your clients, and that may be even more costly. So what I see in the future, and we're seeing that nowadays, is that we're in a hype of AI right now. Everyone is trying to adopt AI some way, and we all have been learning that AI many times it's not going to replace us. What it's going to do is it's going to enhance us.
Sure.
In many cases, and in some cases, yes, it's going to replace. But that's a red flag for us to really become more useful or more, develop other kind of skills. But the most important skills is to really embrace and to learn about AI and to use it and to stop, resisting. It's not anymore. It's a good time to resist this. And so what I see is that we empower people with AI, so we can enhance them, and we can work in a team, like a good team, and that's part of our culture, to embrace AI and to empower people by using AI the best way possible. Okay,
I love it. So if somebody's listening to this episode or they're reading the chapter in the book and they love what you're saying, like how do they find you? How they engage with AHA or with you personally?
Sure. You can reach out to our website. It's ahaimpact.com. And also I'm on LinkedIn, Albino Sanchez. And also we have a YouTube channel. You can look for AHA Impact with some videos over there.
Now, is there kind of a sweet spot for the size of companies you guys think you can just like knock out of the park for?
Well, yeah, right now we're aiming for middle-sized companies. Okay, so not too small that they are in survival mode, not too big that they already working with huge providers and they are too sophisticated. So we're looking for those medium-sized that are really the ones that are embracing AI and are struggling right now. So we want to help them to build the right culture and develop the right people. Yeah.
So like 10 million to 50, 60 million-ish.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Albino, this has been a fantastic conversation. Thanks so much for taking time out of your day to be here.
Thank you so much. It was amazing. Bye-bye.